Welcome to the Good Grind Podcast. I am Chris Enra, horticulture educator with University of Illinois Extension, coming at you from Macomb, Illinois, and we have got a great show for you today. We are talking trees, the higher plant forms of life out there. I'm not doing this by myself. I am joined by horticulture educator Emily Zweihardt. Emily, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. Yes, I am so excited to be joining you in this very first episode of the new year. What better way to kick off 2025 than with a little bit of tree talk?
Yes. Ooh, tree talk. I like that. And we told Ken to take the day off today, so he's
Extended
not here with
holiday.
us. Yes,
An
yes.
extended holiday.
Yeah, and it's trees. He doesn't care. He cares more about the things that are eating the trees. So, yeah.
He's gonna be mad you said that.
So, Emily, we have a couple of special guests today that are going to be marketing or promoting a program that we are all participating in delivering. So, I guess we should bring on our special guest for today.
Yeah, I think we should. So first, let's welcome Sarah Vogel. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Then we have Ryan Pankau. Welcome, Ryan.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Always excited to talk trees, for sure.
Yeah, you guys are some of my favorite people because you're tree people. So we have been teaming up, the four of us, along with some other colleagues, have been teaming up to plan another round of the Community Tree Care Series. So we want to get some more information from you guys about this program that's coming up so that if people are interested, which I'm sure they will be, can register and join us. So if you don't mind if we go ahead and get started, let's start out with introductions. We want people to know who you are. So Sarah, why don't you tell us who you are, where you are serving in terms of the Illinois Extension Service? And then I'm curious, what got you into tree work?
Ooh, okay. Well, I am Sarah Vogel. I'm a horticulture educator. I serve DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties. I am located in Decatur in Macon County. We went camping a lot as a kid. I've spent just a lot of time outside, and those are some of my favorite memories and memories that I'm still making with my family, is being outdoors and just really trying to keep a strong connection with nature. And I have totally found my home and extension where I get to talk about the benefits of that connection with nature and all the beautiful trees with people and making that people plant connection.
Oh, it's neat. Did you travel far to go camping or did you stay local?
Both. Yeah, my family, we would camp here somewhat locally, like Lake Shelbyville is somewhat near us. That's a big lake with a lot of really nice natural resource opportunities there. But we've also taken, when I was a kid, we took great big RV several week trips across the US. And so I have camped in many, many states and just really, whether it was my family's socioeconomic status at the time, but we found a lot of free stuff to do. You know what I mean? And being in nature is one of the cheapest, most rewarding things that you can do for yourself or with kids. So yeah, we went everywhere. We saw it all.
Oh, that sounds awesome. That's awesome. Ryan, tell us who you are, where you serve, and what got you into the tree world.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm really close to Sarah in Central Illinois, so I'm out of the Champaign office. I serve Champaign, Vermilion, Ford, and Iroquois counties in Central Illinois. And gosh, I probably have a similar story as you, Sarah. As a kid, we did a lot of camping. We didn't go real far. We did kind of stay around the Midwest. So I think kind of a lot of the exposure to nature as a kid and just being out in it and doing neat things with it. But as I got to be high school age, or maybe even a little bit before, I started to work on the farm. My uncles and my grandpa farmed. And I don't know, I think my first kind of interest in learning more about plants was just weed identification and figuring out I know it's pretty really easy that that's not a soybean or a corn plant, but then knowing what that weed was and kind of understanding the difference between plants. So in high school, I worked at the Urbana Park District, and that's when trees clicked for me. I all of a sudden I wanted to understand what all the different trees there were out there and how to identify them. And that's what kind of set me in the path to going to college and studying forestry and brings me to here. So tree ID, I guess, is kind of what got me into it.
That's neat. That's I would say a little unusual, at least from what I've, talked to people. Like tree ID is challenging. And so you went right for it and fell in love with it instead of being discouraged. Way to go.
Well, I wasn't good at it at the start. I mean, the first tree I identified was a catalpa by using a book and looking at pictures and going through it. But I brought that full circle where like just this fall, I did a tree ID walk in the same park with that same catalpa on the list of trees we looked at. So that was really neat for me. Like that was just a few months ago this fall. So pretty cool.
That really came full circle.
Yeah.
That's
From
cool.
then to now.
He's so
That's
good
awesome.
now he can ID trees naked. So yeah.
There you go.
Without
People
any
can read
leaves
into
on.
that.
The trees are
Oh,
naked?
There
Or...
was-
wait. I think I might have signed up for the wrong class. You're doing right. So okay. Never mind.
All right. Follow that up then, Chris, with explaining how you got into trees. Let's hear your origin story.
My tree origin story. Oh, that's easy. I grew up in the middle of the forest. Parents had a house in the middle of 20 acres of timber, and we had 2 TV channels, NBC, CBS. ABC was fuzzy. And so what do? You go out in the woods and you hang out there all day. So yeah, I was born of the trees, so and raised by trees. So I am part of the trees. So that's my tree origin story. I've always kind of been infatuated with the forest.
Oh, that's wonderful. I guess I'll share mine real quick. Had like a very opposite. I grew up in corn country. We had a couple of trees that I got to like literally grow up with. They were pretty new to the farm when we moved there. Now they're huge and majestic. I've shared a bit about them on past podcasts, but there were these 2 swamp white oak trees out in our pasture that were just huge and majestic and like gnarly and weathered, and they'd been there for a really long time. And so kind of like growing up with my maples, and then being able to climb on and really love on these oaks kickstarted me. Then I have a sad story related to trees that really, now I look back and it really solidified my love of trees, which is that these 2 huge cottonwood trees were on a neighbor's property. And cottonwood can, be messy. Some folks don't really love them. They were hurting nobody. They were just the most amazing trees, and they were cut down for reasons I didn't understand then, and I don't understand now, but I remember them coming down and just like, that was my first heartbreak, my real like first heartbreak. And then just over the course of the career, got the opportunity to like really fall in love with trees and the people that get to work with trees and advocate for trees and in communities, which I don't live in a community, but so that's why I'm particularly excited to have you guys talking about our initiative, the Community Tree Care series, because so many of the trees that we all fall in love with, or the people fall in love with, are in our communities, and it is a different type of environment for trees, and so there's some education that we would like to offer folks. So thank you for sharing all that personal stuff, but let's talk about the program, right? That's what people are here for. Okay, so what is the Community Tree Care series? Is there a history to it? Sarah, do you want to share a bit about how the program got going and then, what it is today?
Yeah, sure. So really, kind of the number of tree-related inquiries that I found out come into extension once I got here, and as soon as somebody finds out that you like trees and know a little bit about them, like they just hit you hard from every which way. So we started realizing there aren't as many downstate opportunities for ISA certified arborists. So we wanted to kind of fill that need. And then, yeah, if the general public is out there looking for information on these trees, like clearly there is a need to be met there. So partnered with the Illinois Arborist Association, and they helped us distribute a survey, and we kind of found out what format people would like, in-person conference style, whatever. And so a webinar series seemed like the most accessible to start out with for our team too. So we developed some material. You all know, Ryan and Emily, you were on there last year. 2023, we held 3 webinars. And then in early 2024, we intended to hold 3 in-person workshops to kind of solidify that knowledge gained in the webinars. And we've had, I think we've been really successful in nailing our target audience. So it's not only for those certified arborists, but there are a lot of people out there that are doing the work that arborists do that are not necessarily formally trained, right? So we have like parks maintenance staff and groundskeepers for school districts and county staff and so on that they aren't necessarily getting this information from anywhere else. So for us to try and serve our local need in that way, I think we did a pretty good job of that last year, and we're improving the format even more this year.
Yeah, I love how we are opening it up to people that are not only arborists, right? There's a lot of people doing tree work, whether it's on private property or in our communities. There's a lot of folks doing this type of work, and there's a lot of damage that can be done with improper care. Ryan, you want to kind of talk about how this like benefits kind of all of the trees?
Well, sure. And I think some of the reason why folks are so interested in tree care, why they care so much about it, is these are the biggest, most long-lived perennials in the landscape. I mean, I usually describe it to folks as your most valuable plants are your trees, and that's the truth. It sometimes takes 100 years to get that mature oak tree that you've got in your yard. So just like you said, Emily, like all that care and maintenance that we provide these plants, especially when they're younger, can have lasting effects into the future. So learning how to take care of them from planting through maturity is just really important for that future forest, for future generations. I think another thing that's been just really has struck me as I've started to look at all the issues surrounding trees more closely. I came from commercial tree care, but now I tend to look at it in a larger perspective, working at Extension. So I look at municipal tree care. I look at what's happening around the community, as our series is titled, the Community Tree Care Series, and just the struggle that a newly planted tree has to reach maturity. There's startling numbers on how many urban trees don't make it to maturity and a low survival rate of planted trees. I think there's just a really strong need in the community, whether you're just a homeowner or you're an arborist taking care of those, to understand, all those steps of care and how we can best set those trees up to become those big mature shade trees that all of us really cherish.
Yeah, well, and there's more threats to the trees than just, aging out. Like, of course, that is, one of the threats. Like when we lose trees, they age out, right? And hopefully it's in hundreds of years for some of our species. But our communities experience a variety of adversity, or the trees experience a variety of adversity, in just the planting sites that they're asked to grow in. There's a lot of heat islands, there's concrete that's restricting root growth, there's horrible pruning techniques that are trying to limb them up so high, so we can have clearance for cars. It's necessary, but it does affect tree health, so that's kind of two sides to the same coin. And then Chris, I'm remembering a conversation you and I had just last year about a derecho that kind of hit Western Illinois here. And, there's tornadoes, there's, we may or may not have ice storms here coming up. Like, Chris, do you want to talk, kind of remind us of our conversation we had in terms of like what communities do then with a community forest, when situations like, a natural disaster or a much larger significant event, well, heck, emerald ash borer. When we lose a lot of trees, and like how that affects our communities, because it does.
Yeah, we face a lot of different natural disasters, whether that disaster is something that is brought on by the environment, like a derecho or a tornado, freezing, frozen stuff, ice falling from the sky. But then we also have some of those man-made disasters, like when we bring in an invasive species like emerald ash borer. Now, a lot of what has happened as a result of that. I think it is something good, if we can find some silver lining somewhere, is we have, with emerald ash borer, we needed to have tree professionals come in and take care of those ash trees. And a lot of especially where I'm at in the western part of the state of Illinois, there was not as many tree care folks to do that job. That has allowed a lot of these companies that did exist to either to grow or to maybe allow a few companies to start. Now we have gone from having to remove these ash trees So now these companies, they now need additional work to do. They need more things. They need to know more about tree health care assessment. And so it has to go beyond just chainsaw and cutting trees down, which is one of the most dangerous and hard jobs you can do in the tree care world. So let's, what this series helps to address is maybe evaluating some of our trees. So maybe we don't have to cut them all down. Maybe we make a few more cuts to lighten the load on some of our limbs, or maybe there's a few products we could use to help with our trees, or maybe just general tree culture, helping our trees, watering them during what I think is one of the most profound disasters that at least we've had here in the western part of the state is drought, is very slow disaster that we've been experiencing, where we're seeing a lot of our trees lose significant amount of their canopy because they've lost a lot of their root system. And so, people quick to say, hey, a bug did this, a disease did that, but actually our trees have just been encountering a prolonged drought, at least in the western part of the state, for the better part of 3 years now.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, right? There's all these threats
Sorry,
that are.
I'm not very doomy and gloomy today. I
No,
apologize.
I asked you to talk about it because so from the tree health standpoint, like we have all these, challenges that they're being asked to deal with. But then like from a people side of it, like you talk about how chainsaws are, dangerous, and it's some of the most risky work we're doing, yet chainsaws are extremely available, right? I know nearly every neighbor has one. My mom has one. It's a battery powered one. It's cute and adorable, and it just, it goes zing, but it's still a chainsaw, and it requires thought and knowledge of how to use that tool properly and safely. And so that's part of what we're going to talk about in the program, amongst,
and I would just add, it often falls onto, people as you described, who aren't arborists, but maybe they know how to use a chainsaw, and they say, all right, you know how to use a chainsaw, go take care of this tree. And that's the knowledge they have. They have a small engine repair knowledge. They know how to lubricate a chain, how to maybe sharpen it, but do they know tree health care? So that's kind of where we're hoping this series can come in and help boost them and make them feel more confident. And if they do have to use a chainsaw, are they making proper cuts? Do they need to even be making cuts? Or is there something else that maybe they could do to help the overall health of that tree?
Yeah. Yep. So the program is for arborists, people that are certified arborists, that are professionals in the industry, as well as people who have a passion for trees, who are interested in doing work on them, but would like to be more informed so that you can make better decisions for the health of the tree and the health of the humans that are interacting with those trees. So, Sarah, I think everybody listening now is going to be signing up. They can't wait. Can you tell us how they can sign up? Like where do we go? When do we need to sign up? What are their fees associated with it? What does that get us?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, everyone's invited. Anybody who wants to, kind of advance their tree care knowledge, because it is really important in the community. So our webinar series is going to start up January 15th. It will be every 2 weeks on Wednesdays from 9 to 10:30 through the end of March. I know you can go to extension.illinois.edu/plants/community-tree-care-series to get to a registration page, but I'm pretty sure we will have a short link at some point.
And we'll put a link in the show notes.
Thank you so much. But yeah, we'll have 6 winter webinar sessions, like I mentioned, from 9 to 10:30, 2 Wednesdays a month. Each session, we're going to cover 2 topics. So we realized last year we had such varying degrees of knowledge that attended that we wanted to kind of give some more basic knowledge mixed with some more advanced, topics. So we have 2 topics per session. You can pay 1 fee for access to all 6 sessions. If you are anybody off the street who is not a certified arborist seeking CEUs, so $10 for access to all the sessions, or if you are a certified arborist who is seeking continuing education units, it's $50, and you, with that $50 fee, you can access all 6 sessions as well. We do ask that you register. And again, you can attend one or some or all of those sessions. Oh, in each session also, so we'll have the 2 topics as well as kind of a fun, interactive, engaging way to relay knowledge. We will have a bit of a photo submission and discussion session. So when you do register, if you would like to submit photos to potentially be discussed on one of the webinars, you go in and register, and you can submit those photos according to the guidelines there. And that kind of helps everybody with, like, digital diagnosis, skill building, and just discussion overall.
I am personally excited for that discussion part of it. I think we'll be able to learn a lot from each other, and like it's a real world scenario that we'll get to go ahead and walk through along with participants. Like this is what people see when they're walking in their parks or their backyard or along their streets. Like there are tree health issues or concerns, and we'll just have a conversation about how we go about assessing those, and then what resources are available and what we know from experience, right? So I'm excited for that component.
I think it'll be really good too. I mean, it sharpens all of our skills, as well as those who are submitting them. And if somebody doesn't get their photo, we don't discuss it online during that webinar, we can still point them in the right direction toward their local extension office too.
Ryan, so Sarah mentioned there's 6 sessions. You want to talk a little bit about maybe what'll be covered in, you don't have to cover all of them. We can leave some intrigue, but give us a sampling of what we might be discussing.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, of course, we're going to start from, going over everything from how you select the site to how you plant the trees and care for them. But I think what I like that's sprinkled throughout kind of all of our different sessions is a look at some of the things that are stressing trees, like and some of the solutions to some of those problems. So, we'll cover a lot about construction damage and environmental stress. There's a couple different sessions where we talk about that. But in that same session that we talk about environmental stresses, Chris is going to talk about biological stresses, how to diagnose diseases and other things. So, and when you couple that then with all the photography we hope to review, at the end of in some of these discussion sessions, I hope that that's going to help folks have a better vocabulary or a better understanding of what are the problems, how can I communicate about these? Because whether you're a commercial arborist or someone that cares for a municipality's collection of trees, it's impactful to be able to communicate about that. It's impactful to know what these issues are and how they affect plants and how you can counteract that. So I think that's what I really like about our sessions this year is that we've kind of sprinkled that throughout. Like you really do get the care side of things as far as what are the problems, how are we handling those in the field as professionals.
Sounds good. Chris, do you want to add any, like you're helping to teach some of these programs. Like, do you have something you're mostly excited about? I do. I'll share. And then Sarah, I will get back to you. I'll ask for what you're most excited about too. But we're just going round robin here. So Chris, what are your thoughts?
I love talking about the issues with the soil. When we build something and we just totally obliterate the soil, and then we expect the trees and shrubs and turf and all that stuff to just thrive in that subsoil. So we're going to talk about that. And some of the issues that come into play when trying to plant that tree into that, as I call them, post-construction soils. But yeah, I'm going to be doing that species and site selection portion along with the biotic stressors of trees.
We'll also get abiotic. It's just not one of us that's covering it, right? All right. Sarah, what are you looking forward to, or what are you hoping people get excited about?
Well, trees. I mean, and end game right there. I want everybody to be excited about trees, and we all run off into the forest, holding hands and singing songs, have a Coca-Cola. No product placement, sorry. But I'm really excited to have a couple new members to the team because fresh perspective is always welcome, and we all learn from each other. And probably the session I am most excited about is one that I'll present on improper practices. Because as a certified arborist, I will tell you, it totally wrecks enjoying trees because all I see sometimes are like the issues that are there. So I have a lot photos to share. I think we all get a lot of those. And it's always fun to like look at, well, here's what might not have gone right with this tree. I get excited about that. It's fun to diagnose when we can.
Like CSI, I don't know why, like, if any TV producers ever want a hit TV show, tree diagnosis, it's going to be just like your most popular TV show ever, CSI related.
Tree MD.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh, there you see, Sarah. This is your hidden talent that now everyone's going to know.
Uh-huh.
Naming things.
Catch me on CBS right after the evening news.
Sarah has a bad leg, walks with a cane, and is very grumpy the whole time, but can save everything.
She has a very stern look too that she can pull out right on cue. There
That's
you
right.
go.
Yes.
Yeah. Sarah, you said about like it kind of ruins the way you look at trees. So like that might be a disclaimer that we should put alongside of this is the more you know, the more you see, because there are a lot of trees.
The more you care. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. That's the ultimate end goal, right? Like we're all learning so that we can do better by the trees in our community. And so I really appreciate you all helping to put on the program, and then everyone who's going to sign up and engage, because that's what we need really in our communities is really healthy, beautiful, majestic, long-lived trees that provide a lot of benefits. We'll talk about benefits of trees throughout the program. What I'm most excited about is the advocacy component. So the last session, we're going to talk about how you engage with your community trees as a citizen, and how you can start doing some higher level work beyond, the community or the trees in our own backyards and on private lands. Like you can engage with the trees and the people that are managing those trees in your community. We'll talk about what that looks like, what you can do to help support all of the trees in the urban forest, because like they make up a whole forest, right? We call it community tree care because these are community trees. Another more nerdy industry name, right, is the urban forest. And so I personally really like that because it is a ecosystem that we're living in, like a forest. There's interactions between all the living creatures and the trees. So anything else? Did we miss anything related to community tree care? We could talk trees all day. I'm trying not to do that for the first podcast of the year, really run over time. But did we miss anything?
Well, I don't know that we have a lot of details to announce on this, but don't we have an in-person portion of this yet to be announced later in the year that we plan to follow up? So some workshop type sessions that will reinforce these things in the field with real life things. So
yes.
What else can we say about that right now?
That look for this summer or the next summer we happen upon, summer 2025, look for promotion about in-person workshops and that will take place in the fall, hopefully around the state, so we can try and accommodate those people who don't really have other in-person opportunities or workshops like that. So especially those who do take part in this webinar series, with those follow-up emails, we'll most certainly send you information for those workshops.
Yes.
I'm really excited about that part too, Ryan. I like the in-person.
Wow.
I think knowledge is really exchanged best that way when possible.
Yeah, it's hard. We're doing a podcast and a YouTube, and we're hosting these, sessions via webinar. There's nothing like getting face-to-face with people or face-to-face with plants, and seeing these issues up close and being able to commit them to memory in that way. So thank you for the reminder. Yep. Totally slipped my mind. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
I'll probably
all right.
just reemphasize that. So if you're a listener and maybe this is up your avenue, maybe it's not, you probably know somebody whose job it is to take care of a tree, whether it is on public or private property. Send them a link to this webinar series. So, we're trying to establish a good connection with our community foresters, people out there in the cities, towns, even rural areas who are out there taking care of our trees. And, the other aspect that we see with this is we've lost a lot of knowledge in our forestry, in our urban forestry areas because people have retired, and and so we need to keep that knowledge going, keep that tree health training up and at them. So yeah, we want to network with those folks that are doing this work, and this is a great way for Illinois Extension to make sure that our knowledge and that information is being shared statewide.
Yeah, and I just thought, I'm not sure we mentioned, but these sessions will be recorded. So people do need to register in advance to get access to the live event, but we will record them as well. And so register for the series, and you will have access to all 6 sessions as a part of that registration. They'll be posted on a link that we'll send to registrants. They'll be uploaded as soon as they're available, and they will live there until May 1st. And so there's ample time. So if the day of the week that we chose or the time of the day doesn't work for you to view them, but you still want to engage, there's going to be those recordings, which is, I think I really appreciate that, because I know how busy our schedules get and how we miss opportunities sometimes because just of schedule conflicts. And so we wanted to try to make sure that the recordings were available for folks that wanted to access this knowledge. So, okay. Now anything else? We could keep going, I'm sure.
We could talk about trees all day,
I
right?
know.
Yes.
I know. Well,
Let's go through them species by species.
Acer.
start with
Ailanthus altissima.
Oh gosh.
ooh,
I saw-
yuck. Ugh.
Ugh.
Why do we have to do that, Sarah?
I
Okay.
know, sorry. Debbie Downer right at the end.
No, it's fine. It is fine. So I'm going to stop us from doing that because that really could go on for a very long time. While I love the idea, let's just schedule it out.
Or and then we'll just make an edit, and then we'll just say, and then Zelkova, and
Yeah.
and we'll be like,
Dot,
and that's
dot,
all of them. Yep.
That's the list. Acer
Yep.
to Zelkova. Okay. We'll keep workshopping that idea. But I would like to play a little, this we haven't done before on Good Growing. Chris has not been informed of this little exercise, and so he's going to be as surprised as you guys. But I would like to do just a quick little lightning round, tree related, because you're my, tree people. And so I want to learn a little more about you and selfishly take advantage of this opportunity. Cool. Log off if you want to stop, but don't, please.
Okay, bye guys.
No.
You're locked in the Zoom room. You can't leave.
Okay, so how this works is I'm going to read you a question, and I do not want you to overthink it. Just say whatever kind of first comes to your mind. They're tree related, so I'm sure you'll have an easy answer come up. But we'll just
And
go
you're
really
going to out
quick.
us if we don't know.
No,
Of course.
these aren't like gotcha questions. I hope not.
No.
They're not gotcha questions. They're fun for the beginning of the new year. So we'll go in this order, so we're not talking over each other. We'll go Ryan, Sarah, Chris. All right? Okay. First up, what is your favorite tree species and why?
Oh gosh, pick one species.
Just one.
I don't know. I think my favorite I probably would say is bur oak, and for a variety of reasons. First off, I've had like extreme planting success with bur oak. They're tough. It was something I could always sell to a client. I know that bur oak's going to live, even though you have, what do you call it, Chris? Post-construction soils. Even though you have the worst post-construction soils, this bur oak's going to hang. Another thing that's like heightened my love is just all the stuff that Doug Tallamy has put out about the insect, population that oaks support, like the hundreds of caterpillars, that oak species support. So that's part of it. And then the other thing is I love it how it has what's called, a bimodal distribution, where it grows in swamps, in swampy flooded areas, and it grows in the tops of hills. So for years I was a forester in Southern Illinois, and where I mostly saw bur oaks, we're down in the floodplain. Where when I moved to Central Illinois back in 2017, now I'm seeing it on the tops of hills, in drier sites a lot of times, and in upland oak stands. So that's probably my favorite tree if I had to pick one, but really hard to pick a single one, gotta say.
I know. That's why I asked it, because it's fun. Sarah, what's your favorite tree species and why?
Well, now that I've had just a few seconds to prepare an answer after Ryan got put on the spot, it is really hard to pick a favorite. There's favorites for so many applications, right? I really like a bold cypress. I think bold cypress is just a gorgeous tree. It's like prehistoric looking. And So just like Ryan said, you can find it in all sorts of, though it's kind of known for those swampy areas, with the big cypress knees coming out of the water and so on. It does really well in lots of environments. It's tolerant. It always looks beautiful, I think, in every season, even without leaves. I think it's cool that it's a deciduous conifer. And the cone is spherical and kind of has this geometric pattern. So yeah, we'll go with bald cypress today. Ask me tomorrow, it might be different.
Well, Sarah, that was number 2 in my mind. It's
Yeah.
like fir oak or bald cypress. Which one am I going to pick here?
Yep, you took my top 2. So, Chris,
Yeah,
what do you got?
Bald cypress was when it was bouncing in my head. So you got it. But I will say this happened. Oh, it was over the Thanksgiving break. So we were back in our hometown in Quincy, and I remember back in 2006, 2005, I was just learning about plants, and my future wife's uncle was like, "You need to plant a tree for me. Plant a tree for me." I'm like, I know everything about plants, as a first year horticulture student, and I dug a hole like a foot wide, and I squeezed that bald cypress root ball in there. It was right by a pond, and it was clay, nasty, lousy soil. And I'm like, I don't think this tree's gonna survive. And we drove by there 2024, so almost 20 years later, and it is a beautiful, massive bald cypress, and should have taken a picture. But I'm like, I planted that tree. I think that's like the fun part of trees too, is like coming back and looking at a tree that you planted. So my favorite tree is a tree that I planted 20 plus years ago. Those are my favorite trees because I get to come back and look at them and marvel at how they grew and survived. So yeah.
Okay. You didn't exactly answer the question, but I'll allow it to slide.
Fine. Black
We need
gum.
a species. There you
Black
go.
gum. This is sylvatica. There you
That
go.
was what
I knew you were going to say that one, so that's
know
why
you
I
did.
picked that one. Yep.
All right. Well, and I'll say tulip tree then. I'll go ahead. So, all right. But we're not here for me. We're here for you. Next, lightning round. That was not very lightning-like, but what is the most interesting tree fact that you know?
Oh, so that's back to me.
Mhm.
Most interesting tree fact. Gosh. I think, well, so I'm going to stick with the theme of kind of bald cypress here. I think one of the most interesting facts, it's maybe a series of facts, is the story of the Dawn redwood, a very similar tree to bald cypress. But the
Mhm.
fact that we learned about that tree from the fossil record before we realized it was a living tree on the planet. And then I don't want to go into it, it's the lightning round. But if you haven't read that story, if you haven't researched this, go check it out. It's a fascinating story of how this tree came into popularity and became like a landscape tree here in the US and around the world. So I think that's fascinating. Trees and history.
There you go. Good job, Brian. All right, Sarah, most interesting tree fact.
Let's see. I think that just the fact that they are some of the longest living organisms on Earth is probably up there for me. Lightning round, done.
There you go. Good. Chris, go.
I think when I learned that the tree roots do not extend down to the depths of the earth, that they in fact occupy the top couple inches of soil because they have to breathe, and that's where the oxygen is in the upper layer of soil. So that's my tree fact that opened my eyes to the structure of trees.
That's a good one. Very practical application too. I like it. I will say, what is most interesting to me, tree fact wise, is the existence of pando, which is an aspen. It's a singular species or singular specimen that has taken over acres. It's the longest lived living organism. I think it's in Idaho, and it is on my must see list, but I have to go in the fall because it's a quaking aspen. So I need to be there when it's turning yellow and just look it up too. Like Ryan said, like look up some of these different things and your mind will be opened and you will be wowed. So, all right, we're going to reverse order to give Ryan a break. Sarah, you're going to be up first. All right. Which tree do you associate like with your childhood? Do you have it could be a species or a certain specimen? Is there a tree that you associate with young Sarah?
Gosh, we had a sugar maple in our yard that had just perfect climbing limbs, and I spent a majority of some summers reading books on one of the lower limbs. And so, right off the top of my head, that would be it. It's a sugar maple.
Love it. All right, Ryan.
Well, I'm gonna have to pick a maple too, and for the same reason, silver maple. And that's because as a kid, that was like the only mature tree in my neighborhood, and I climbed so many of them. I spent, just like you, Sarah, hours up there. I don't even know what I did. I don't think I ever read books, but yeah, silver maple, just because I spent a lot of time climbing them and hanging out in them. So.
Awesome. Chris?
Yep, it was a silver maple that I often found myself in as well. But just a little bit beyond that tree, there was an eastern red cedar that I could just climb like a ladder. And it was probably 40, 50 foot tall. And I would go up there, no one could see me through the evergreen foliage, and I could hide up there and just be in my own little world.
Oh, that's great. I was going to say a maple, but I'm going to bring some diversity to this discussion, and I'll change my answer because at my grandparents' place, there's a debate whether this is a tree or not. I'm not here for that debate. I'm going to call it a tree because in my young mind it was. We called it the monkey tree. And then we would climb and it had like all these like gnarly limbs that we could grow up on. I later learned it was a sumac. And so we got to I grew up like that's where we played. We got sent outside and we just played in what we called the monkey tree because we were, I guess, being monkeys in this tree. So, all right. Last question. And I appreciate you guys hanging in there and doing this. But do you have any tree related New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, so we try to plant trees or shrubs each year on our property, and we didn't do that great this in 2024. So that is an intention that we have set for 2025. We have a few species chosen. Don't ask me what they are. That's why I wrote them down. But just getting some more on my own property and some more diversity in our neighborhood. You notice we all said maples there. Guess what's all dying in all of our neighborhoods? So I think that's it. Tree related intention.
Great. Ryan?
Well, I probably have. There's a walnut tree that has been a problem for a long time. So I'm going to bring a bummer to this discussion. Like I don't know this necessarily a formally declared New Year's resolution, but it's got to come down. So I've got a big walnut that's kind of over a chicken coop and close to our garden and other things that I think that's my New Year's resolution is to get it down. But that's going to require some tree climbing and some rigging and some things that I used to do a lot when I was younger. I haven't done a ton of. So in prep for that, I'm starting to get in better shape to try and be ready to do that and a couple other tree work type. I have a few other trees I need to climb and print some limbs off of. So I guess for me, my resolution is to be able to at least be able to do that physically in the wintertime while we have our pruning window and I can hopefully get this walnut out of harm's way. It actually lost a large limb is the main reason why it's just is in a bad spot. It's got to go at this point. So, anyway.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry for your loss, but I'm glad that you're taking the actions to prepare for doing the work. That's as middle-aged folks here, you have to do a little more stretching, right?
Yeah. Got to train for these kind of things where when you were 20, you could just go do it,
Yes.
Got to get ready.
Chris.
My resolution for trees is to attend the community tree care series and learn as much as I can about trees and so yeah, I look forward. This is my first time being a part of this team with the series, so I'm looking forward to being part of the webinar series and learning more about it. We learn every time we teach something, so I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, good answer. And that's true. I learn something from you all every time we talk. I don't know how you continue to do it, but you just keep sharing all this wonderful knowledge. And I personally am grateful for it and look forward to sharing it with everybody. So my tree year resolution, we'll just wrap this up here, but I'm hoping to take the kids to Washington State to see some like really big trees and go out into the rainforests up in the Northwest and do some exploring and hiking. But I remember seeing the redwoods for the first time and just having a very hard time conceiving that that is something living, that is that large. And so I look forward to seeing the awe and wonder in their eyes and then fostering it back here, because I will speak for all of us. I think we still have that in the trees that we're, planting and watching grow, like, just kind of in our everyday interactions with nature. And so I think that's where it begins. Like as a kid, get exposed to it. So thank you guys for joining and sharing about the Community Tree Care series. I thank you for designing it, putting it on, and now promoting it. And so again, if anybody wants to participate, register in advance, please. The first session is January 15th, right, Sarah?
Correct.
All right, so January 15th, so register in advance. The link is in the show notes. So Ryan, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be on with you guys. Always love coming to the podcast.
Love having you. Sarah, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for interviewing us and putting up with our antics.
I love it. Happy to have you guys. Chris.
Yes, here we are at
Here
the
we
end of
are.
an episode. I mean, a lot of great information about trees, and then of course, yes, we'll have all of the registration information down below in the show notes of the podcast. The Good Growing Podcast is a production of University of Illinois Extension, edited by. Are you doing this one, Emily? Are you
I'm gonna
edit?
do this one.
Yes. Oh, people, if you're listening, watching us, that is the longest part of the show, is the editing side of things. So it's always great when we teach someone how to do that. So Emily, thank you for editing the show. Yeah, thank you for organizing this today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I really, really love this topic. We're all very passionate about trees, and I am excited to expand our community with the participants of the Community Tree Care series. They're really why we do this work. And so, yeah, thanks for joining me, Chris. Let's keep doing good growing all throughout 2025. We got our first one checked off the list, and so I guess we got to be back next week.
Oh, we will be back next week. Maybe we'll have Ken come in here too and talk about insects again. I don't know, but he'll probably want to. But yes, so listeners, hope you have had a great start to your 2025. That's quite a number. And so we do appreciate you hanging out with us in 2024 and now at the start of this new year. So listeners, thank you for doing what you do best, and that is listening. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, watching. And as always, keep on growing.